Alright, hello. This is my screencast for my game that I called Alphabet. It's think of it like a kids learning game, really. It's to try and help them learn, their ABCs and stuff, and kind of how to match them up with what they would go with. So what I'll do first is I'll show you what the iPhone 4S version looks like, and then I will show you the iPad 2 real quick. So what I implemented for this is I have the cloud here that currently it's just a single cloud. It goes across the screen. Let me turn this down a little bit in my head. Okay, and I have two flowers here that spin alternate ways just to kind of give some background to the scene, and then the play button here. So you click play. The first thing I'll show you is the way to lose the game. So you have the letter A, and typically what we would do is we'd go ahead and click on the apple for letter A. You can win the game that way. Instead, what I want to do is I want to click on the cat. You'll notice here it says lives in the little updater down here. That's just telling me that, okay, yes, it's taking one of the lives away. They have a total of 3 chances. On that third chance, if they don't get it right, then they lose the game. So try the dog, same thing happens, and banana, and it brings you back to this lost screen. So you lost, please play again. And it'll take you back to this main menu. You can click play. I only added 3 letters. I went A, B, and C, just because I wanted to get something initially done, simple out there, and get it working properly. So click on A, takes you to the next letter, letter B. So B, banana, and C for cat. And it takes you to you win, main menu. So that's just the overall kind of view of the game. It's real simple. Like I said, it's something that would be meant for like my children, for example. My 2-year-old would probably have a blast with it because it's just a matching game. So show you the iPad 2 version as well real quick, since that's going to be a little bit different based off of the size. I did set it up to where it will do the 2 different sizes, so you can see it fits the screen nice and good, and you can go into it. The tiles, they fit the screen real well, and you can still go through, and the game's going to do the exact same thing as the previous one. You're going to win the game if you select the correct thing. So we'll get onto the code here. We'll start off with the hello world scene.h. In here, all I had to do was initialize my different sprites here. So I have my sprite, my clouds, my flower, and flower 1. That's really all that I did for this scene here. My sprite here is attached to the background, the cloud, and the 2 flowers for the flowers, obviously. I have the 3 different on-touch methods here just because I wasn't sure if I was going to utilize the moved or not. So really the only one that's honestly used is the on-touch began, because the second you click, if you click right, it's going to move you to the proper scene. So we'll move to the hello world scene here real quick. So in hello world scene, what we have here is I added my audio engine because I actually have audio for the game. You may not have been able to hear it for this video, but there is a background music that plays constantly throughout the game, and it's set on a loop. I also included the letter A because that is where we expect you to transition to next, regardless of what happens. Because you're going to hit play. That's really all you can do in the game is hit play, and at this stage of the game. So next, we got down here, I added, like I said, my sprite is the background image, the clouds for the cloud image, flowers as well. And then the position I set up for the background, since it's a wide image, it's supposed to fill the entire background. So I threw that in first, and I put it at the very center of the screen so that it lines up perfectly with the bounds of the screen. For the cloud sprite, I was working on, initially what I wanted to do was have it to where it went across the screen from left to right, and then after a short time it would just repeat that, or it would loop. I didn't get that actually implemented into this, but I do have it set up to where its position starts off up at the top of the screen and just to the left, outside of the bounds, so that you can't really see it initially, and then it makes its way across the screen. And then for the two flowers, I just placed those at two specific points as well, so that they would be just below and to the sides of the play button. And then we had to initialize them and actually have them show up on screen, so I placed them on screen via this. So next I went in and I added some actions to the scene with such as the cloud moving over 15 seconds from left to right, and then the two different flowers. So the action 1 is for the first flower, action 2 is for the second flower, which you'll see down here. But yeah, it's just set up to where they rotate currently for 60 seconds by 720 degrees over 60 seconds. So it's not like it's a super fast spin, but it's a decent timed spin, so it just looks like they're rotating around. And then, like I mentioned, this code here is just for that action to actually run and attaching them to the actual items in the game. Next here we have my menu item 1, which is my actual menu font for the play button. That's all it's for. You click on it and it will move you to the next scene, which I have lower in here, and you'll see that in a minute. And then the position setup for it, as well as all the other code that goes along with it. So we move down to the different on-touch methods. Like I said, really the only one that's actually being used is the on-touch began. I mean, I can still go into the game, click on an area, and move the mouse around and see in the box here, the output, that it is happening and that it's the position that it's moving. But when you get to the play button, I have it still put a log out saying that the play button was hit. It's not something that's really like absolutely needed. It was more just for my purposes for testing, and it worked out well for me. So once you click on it or touch it in your tablet, it loads up the first letter of letter A, or the first scene in the game, and that's pretty much it for the hello world. So we'll move to the letter A.H, and here I have my sprites set up. I only have a couple sprites showing because I only need to use a few that are shown here, and then I have, in all honesty, I think, yeah, okay, so my sprite here again is the basic. It's the exact same thing as the hello world was. It's just the background. I probably could have changed it to my background to make it a little bit more understandable for somebody else looking in on the outside, but for my purposes, I knew what it was for and what it was doing. And then the letter sprite is exactly what it says. It's that letter that shows up on the left side of the screen, letters, whether it's A, B, or C. And then I added the image buttons for the apple, the banana, the cat, and the dog, and that's what all of these represent. And then I implemented this here, int lives. What int lives is that's whether you win or lose the game, or the level that you're on. So we'll go to letter A CPP, and I kind of show you how that works. So a lot of this stuff is pretty much self-explanatory. It's the same thing as the hello world scene, with minor differences. I added the menu item down here, which I utilize for my actual images. So what I did here for these menu items is I don't technically have a separate image to show what the apple would look like as you're clicking on it. So I went ahead and I just threw in there that it's the same image because it's not going to change anything. That's something I could implement later because it would be nice to add just that, maybe tint the color of the image a little bit so that the player can know that they actually did click on it, because I don't have any other real indications in the game right now to let them know that they actually touched something and it did anything, especially for the ones that are incorrect at the time. The only indication they get is after they click that third one, then they get sent to that lose screen. So maybe implementing something like that later would benefit. But I set up the positions here so that they kind of stay together, one on top of the other and then next to each other the way they're supposed to. And same thing for here, I implemented them, added them into the menu so that they actually show up. Up here top for my includes, I have the letter B because that's the next scene that logically you're supposed to go to. And then I also have the lose scene because if you do manage to get it incorrect, then you would go to that screen. And then down here I have all of my actual image buttons set up into different code. So the top one here is actually for the apple. It's if you click on the apple, then it's going to go ahead and it's going to move you to the next scene because you've passed that level. But the next one here is for I believe this one is for the banana. 2 is for banana. So what it's saying here is, if my lives is less than 2, then I'm going to add 1 life to it because you automatically start. I guess I should show you that first. I set up this here. This lives equals 0, so your lives automatically starts off as 0, as opposed to other games that you might play where the lives may be, okay, you start off with 3 lives. I'm just starting from bottom to top because it doesn't really affect anything that the player sees because they're not actually seeing the lives. They have them. So I say here that if your lives is less than 2, then when you click this button, then add 1 to it. Else, if your lives equals 2, then you lose the game, pops up in your output here, and it sends you to that lose scene. And this exact same code here goes into the cat and the dog images as well, right here, so you can see those. So you basically have the same thing happen for each one. The one thing I did not implement, and I'm happy I didn't do it that way, is I didn't have the lives carry over for each level. So it basically gives you 3 chances for each level to complete it. So from there, if you pass, then you go to letter B. Letter B is it's really the exact same thing as letter A, except I had to move image 1 to be image 2 for all of the statements inside. And then the same thing for letter C down here. So for some of the different stuff, we have the lose scene here, so lose scene.h. The only thing I added was the sprite in the background because that's the only thing that would be an image that the player would see other than the text. So up here I have, again, the background. The music, again, is still playing for all of this, even if you get to the lose scene. The second you stop with the lose scene, or you get to the lose scene and you press that play button or the play again button as it is, then it sends you to the hello world scene, and it actually restarts the music, reinitializes everything, and gets it playing again as if you were playing the game brand new, just starting out. So And then the same thing with the wind scene here. We do the same thing. Has it, you get to the wind scene, it's got just the background image, and it just has the text here of you win, main menu. Player clicks on that, and it just restarts the music again. So I will show you my different resources real quick. So I used a audio file from the Westar Music. I really liked some of the audio that they had there. They had a really good children's theme in there, and that's what I used. So it's this Climb on Mountain sound. I didn't change any of the fonts. I just went with the basic font that the game comes with, or the system comes with, because I think it fit well with what I wanted to do. And then for iPad, I have my images here, which are a little bit different size than the images for it says iPhone 6 Plus, but that's not what I actually went with. Instead, I went with the iPhone 4S, and I changed that in my code here for the different resolutions. And I did it that way because I was having a little bit of trouble getting the screen bounds to work properly. So that's why it's labeled incorrectly right now. So we just go to the default for the iPhone 4S, and it works out. So I hope you enjoyed the screencast of my game, and have a good one.